Okay, chapter 10. Now, chapter 10 is a long one, boys and girls, so I think we're probably going to divide it into 3 days. So it's like 30 pages long. So let me find a good place to stop. That looks like a good place. Hey, they went back to their room of screens, but there was no sign of the cakes on any of them. Where are they? Asked Astra. I thought you said we could see the whole ship from here. Pilbeam pointed to a small screen that fizzed with gray snow. Look, that's the camera in the dining hall. The cakes must have switched it off so we couldn't see them. How would they know how to do that? Asked Astra. They've been getting more and more intelligent. Astra looked at the nameless horror, wondering how much of this he understood. Poor horror. He probably had never seen an ordinary cake, let alone a ferocious man-eating one. I asked Namatron 9000 to make me the ultimate cake, she said. That's how all this started. It's been churning out cakes ever since, and they've been evolving and learning and fighting each other. I suppose it makes sense that they would think of the dining hall as home. Then that is where they will have taken the Poglites, said the nameless horror, and that is where we will go. Pilbeam unscrewed the ventilation grill on the air shaft. They all scrambled inside, and Pilbeam led them through the tight twists and turns of the shaft until they reached another grill. Cakey and marzipan-y smells came in through the grill, strange grunting sounds, and muffled whimperings. Astra edged over and put her face to it. She was looking into the dining hall. There was a great blind face of Namotron and the savage cakes. Each of them carried what looked at first like a big traffic cone. Then Astra realized that the traffic cone things were the Poglites they had pulled in their hands and feet and eye stalks and tugged down the lids of their chimney pot spacesuits so that the cakes could not get them. Perhaps they had hoped that the cakes would give up trying and lose interest in them. But the cakes had other plans. Smeared on the walls and floor of the hall were big splats of icing, left over from fearsome cake versus cake battles that must have happened while Astra was aboard the Poglite ship. The cakes now scooped up the sticky stuff and started to splotch over the whimpering Poglites, encasing them in ice cream and icing. Some had gotten icing bangs from somewhere and set about decorating the ice Poglites with pretty curlicues and swirls of piping in pastel pink and baby blue. Others went around gathering sprinkles and candy flowers that floated in the hall and added them to the Poglites too. What are they doing? Asked the nameless horror, squeezing up next to Astra to have a look. They're icing them, said Astra. They're trying to make them look prettier, I think. I suppose to a cake, the more icing you have, the prettier you are. Is icing dangerous? Asked the horror. My mom said it's bad for your teeth, said Astra. But it's not like the Poglites are eating it. I suppose they might suffocate in there, though. The cakes had finished their work. They pushed the ice mass of Poglites toward Namatron. A fearsome-looking cupcake, larger than the rest, raised its arms and, in a crumbly voice, said, "Oh, great cake maker, accept these sacrifices. Make us more cake warriors to do your bidding." Now what? Whispered Astra. She was a bit surprised that the cakes had learned to talk. But what worried her more was the long nozzle that came whirling out of the Namatron like an elephant's trunk. They are feeding your friends to the machine, said Pilbeam. That's the nozzle it uses to suck up bits of uneaten food so it can be recycled. But Poglites aren't table scraps, hissed Astra. What will happen to them? They'll be turned into cakes, said Pilbeam. That's awful. Yes, I should think that they'll taste horrid. We have to stop them, said the nameless horror. How? Said Astra. We need to think. We can't just go bursting into the dining hall. But there was no time to think. Scratched together like that, the three of them had put too much pressure on the ventilator grill. Slink! It went as it gave away, and they came tumbling out into the dining hall in a higgledy-diggly-piggly heap. The cakes turned, surprised to see this bundle of legs and arms and tentacles somersaulting towards them. Then, leaving the captive Poglites drifting helplessly, they sprang to attack. Stay back, warned Astra. She pulled Spork from her bag and brandished it like a dagger. We have sporks and we're not afraid to use them. The cakes wavered a little. A lot of them were from an earlier batch and not quite as bright as the leader. They were bright enough to fear the spork, though. It looked to them like a cake fork, the traditional enemy of all cakes. But the king cake just laughed and waved the others on. Does she think she can frighten us with her puny spork? There was a time when humans ate us, but that time is over. This is the age of the cake. Attack! Astra pinned the bag, scattering tumbles of sporks. Pilbeam snatched two, and the nameless horror took the rest, stretching himself big and thin until he formed a sort of wall between Astra and Pilbeam and the onrushing cakes, a wall of wavering tentacles, and in every tentacle a bright spork. I'll hold them off, Astra, said the nameless horror. You talk to the Nomatron. But what good will that do? And we're going to stop there today.